Good evening and welcome to the 5th Annual SDC Foundation Awards. I'm Annie Kauffman, SDC Foundation Vice President and Secretary. Now, I know it seems like we're getting rather adept at these virtual gatherings, and here we are again. But look, no one knows better than us how to adapt when that light board goes down in the middle of a preview or a prop never shows. And as the incomparable Jack O'Brien said during last season's awards, how we admire the strength of our community, the industriousness of our industry, and our ability to pivot and shift under such profoundly challenging circumstances. And I agree, Jack. I totally agree. We know we're all dreaming of a time when we can applaud these awardees in a shared space, you know, that old-fashioned three-dimensional being in a room together, to be able to shake their hands and breathe on them. But for now, just sit back in your PJs and applaud folks in the live chat, which, by the way, they get to save and play over and over again. Upsides, my friends. So tonight we celebrate not only those who have succeeded in creating astonishing art in these strange and difficult times, but who've made great impact with how they've decided to implement their talent in the now. They have contributed immeasurably to their community and have in turn succeeded in lifting the integrity of our entire industry. No virus can stop us from collectively celebrating and honoring their successes, nor heralding their inspiration. Thank you, finalists and winners, for your extraordinary work. I'd now like to introduce my esteemed colleague, dear friend, and president of the foundation, Mark Brokaw.
Thanks for that introduction, Annie, and thanks as well for serving as our host this evening. And on behalf of my fellow trustees of SDCF, welcome. For a second year, our awards are virtual as COVID continues to disrupt our world. But as Annie just said, it can't stop us from honoring the stellar accomplishments of our members and peers across the country. These recognitions point to the heart of the Foundation's mission: to celebrate, develop, and support professional stage directors and choreographers throughout every phase of their careers, whether that's recognizing our members' exemplary work, honoring their legacies, or promoting emerging talent. During the pandemic, SDCF's work has not only continued, but intensified. In addition to our ongoing public programming, the Lloyd Richards New Futures Residency for BIPOC directors and choreographers is halfway through its inaugural year. And we're going to be hearing a little bit more about that program just a bit later this evening. Also, the Barbara Whitman Award has been established. This award of $10,000 is given annually to a female, trans, or non-binary early career director. Also, our observership program, which has been on hiatus since the beginning of the pandemic while undergoing a top-to-bottom re-examination, will be fully back in the fall, more accessible to all directors and choreographers, and more attuned to how work happens today. In the past 23 months, SDCF's Emergency Assistance Fund has provided over $170,000 of financial assistance to both SDC full members and associate members. We're deeply grateful to everyone who's contributed and those who continue to contribute to this fund, as well as donations toward all the other programming and work SDCF offers. Without your help and support, none of the work we do would be possible. So, thank you. And now, I'm delighted to introduce my fellow SDCF trustee and Breakout Committee member, Maria Torres, who's going to present our first award of the evening, the 2021 Breakout Award.
Good evening. My name is Maria Torres, and I'm here to present this year's Breakout Award. The Breakout Award goes to an SDC member or associate member for either a production, selection of work, or a moment in their career that signals a shift and is in the beginning of a critical recognition, a rising star moment. Tonight, we are celebrating 3 artists whose work in the field thus far in their career genuinely earned them the Breakout title. First, I want to recognize the finalists, Alex Sanchez and Billy Bustamante. They are both tremendous artists, and we are so excited to see more of their work. Check out the playbill and our website for more information about their accomplishments. And now to our winner. Jon Rua is an extraordinary innovator of movement on the stage, and Jon was a co-creative director of the sold-out 2019 Madison Square Garden New Year's Eve Fish concert, and choreographer of the Broadway Bears, and enjoys an illustrious career as an actor and dancer in the multiple Tony-nominated Broadway shows. Jon's choreography has been celebrated regionally in productions such as West Side Story, A Milwaukee Rep, Jesus Christ Superstar at the Muni. Here in New York City, as the co-choreographer for the individual production numbers in Broadway Bears, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Cher Show, and SpongeBob Musical Live at Nickelodeon, and has been influential in shows such as Broadway's Hamilton, Bring It On the Musical, and On Your Feet. It is my honor to present Jon with the Breakout Award. And I had the pleasure of meeting and working with Jon on the pre-production choreography creation of On Your Feet. We quickly hit it off and have worked and supported each other's work ever since. And I am thrilled that he was selected this year and look forward to your creations in the future, Jon. Congratulations. We are thrilled to honor you as a 2021 Breakout Award winner.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jon Rua. You've heard a little bit about me, and I'll just give you a little bit more. But before I do, thank you to the SDCF and the Breakout Award Committee and Maria Torres. Such a blessing to be recognized and honored for what it is that I love to do, to uplift, to move, to entertain, to provide opportunities for those who may not have the platform or the vessel to express their beautiful love and light. That is my aim. That is what I continue to do, and what I hope moves you as I create my work. My love for choreography, to find the appropriate words for an art form that doesn't use words. I hope that it leaves you in a bountiful of words when you see the work. Someone who didn't know how to dance and learn dance so they could choreograph. To be recognized, it's a blessing. I can only hope that this brings you closer to my work and to the work that is to come. But until then, thank you so very much to the SDCF and the Breakout Award Committee for the recognition. To all of the dancers, creatives, producers, all the artists who I've aligned with, that we have left this era of art a bit more luminary, and in hopes to make an impact to all those that come forth. For our art is our activism, and I'm grateful to be recognized for it. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Tony Taccone, and it was my great pleasure to serve as the chair for this year's Fichandler Award. The award is special to me because Zelda was someone who I admired enormously. She believed that the theater was vital to the life of our society, and that the artist should be at the very center of societal discourse. Her passion was boundless, and her encouragement of young artists legendary, including, of course, the winners and the nominees of the Fichandler Award. Each year, she would read the narratives of the finalists, and in 2011, she attended the ceremony and gave a short speech. By some quirk of fate, someone happened to turn on a camera. No one could have known at the time, of course, but it was the last speech that Zelda would give in public. Here now are some excerpts from that speech.
It would take an aerialist to see the full implications of the award. Tracing as it does the impulse born some 60 years ago to make a thing that would help our fellow humans to know themselves, to fathom more deeply the chaos that is our world, and in the presence of each other to shine a spotlight on the delight of being alive. But this is something else again. This represents a story, a history. It celebrates the past, the vibrant present, and promising and a future, an evolving future, one that's in the midst right now of a revolution. If we stay with it and solve our problems as we've always solved them, with tenacity, imagination, and hope, and if we continue to be tough in the service of something that's tender. There are form givers in every style of art. Form givers in new scientific inventions, new medical discoveries, new technologies. There may seem to be just one out in front, but like seeds in the snow, they emerge in small clusters, and if the plants are strong, they become widely absorbed into the culture. So then, I'm the chorus in Henry V, and for that I'm very proud to have this award in my name. Just think of it. Nobody was looking for us, peering through the window, watching for us to come, to relieve the boredom and unawareness of their lives. It was we who had to teach and persuade them to want what we wanted to give them. And we had to insist on it for their own good, but really for our own. And sometimes it still feels like we're selling a bill of goods to an overscheduled public. Texting and emailing away. But mostly, we've been successful. We did it. Nobody called on us and we came.
Quite an amazing person was Zelda. Giving this award in her name reaffirms the values that she stood for and stands as a touchstone for all of us. So, serving with me on this committee were three wonderful colleagues. Chris Acebo, director from San Diego, Byrd, choreographer from Seattle, and Casey Stangl, director from Los Angeles. Together, we made our way through a substantial number of nominations, each with profiles of directors and choreographers that were nothing short of inspiring. From folks living in small towns in Wyoming and Oregon, to big cities up and down the West Coast and up into the far reaches of Alaska, we were struck by certain similarities among all the candidates. Each possessed an overwhelming desire to change the world, to put theory into practice, and to marry their identities as theater artists with their desires as social activists. They were also filled with enormous energy. Even when faced with COVID, they raced forward, emboldened by the projects they were working on and the lives they knew they were affecting. Selecting a winner and three finalists proved to be a formidable task. We weighed each person's artistic accomplishments, of course, and the impact on their communities. But in addition, the committee felt it especially important this year to honor those artists who we felt had not received adequate recognition in the past. We hope that this gesture of celebrating their work plays a small part in cementing their commitment to the theater and growing their careers. Thanks to all the nominees for letting us take a peek into your process, and congratulations to the finalists and to this year's winner. With that, I turn it over to Casey Stangl, who will say a few words about our first finalist.
Hi, my name is Casey Stangl, and I was honored to be part of this year's Fichandler committee, selecting the recipients of tonight's awards. And I've known Jennifer Chang for many years as a colleague in the Los Angeles theater community. And I remember being at an SDC event together where she told me that she decided to focus primarily on directing. And it's been a privilege since then to watch her journey from being an actor to co-founding a theater company to becoming the sought-after director and respected professor that she is today. To all of these endeavors, Jen brings a sharp wit and a radiant joy and what she calls radical listening. Jennifer won the 2019 LA Drama Critics Circle Award for directing Viet Gone at East West Players, where she's a frequent collaborator. She is a founding member of Chalk Repertory Theater, a site-responsive theater company, where she serves as co-artistic producing director and recently produced and directed Chalk Lines, a series of immersive audio plays revealing the unique soundscapes of 5 LA neighborhoods. She's developed new work with many theaters here in LA and also across the country at the O'Neill, New Harmony, and Ashland New Plays Festival. Jennifer is on the faculty at UCSD's Department of Theater and Dance, and she serves as head of undergraduate acting. I want to quote for you something from her essay. She writes, "Central to my work is the question of who or what is an American. I am passionate about the intersectionality of identities and how true diversity is actually in the engagement, collision, and discourse available because of different experiences, abilities, and ideas." Jen, I want to live in that America with leaders like you. Thank you for your powerful example and your inspired work. Congratulations.
Thank you to the Stage Directors and Choreographers Foundation for all that you do in furthering our craft and uplifting our colleagues in the field. In these challenging times, every day is an accomplishment to be celebrated, and that we're encouraged by our community to keep pressing onward is a gift I do not take for granted. I'm thankful for this opportunity to congratulate this year's awardees and finalists, especially my cohort of Mark, Leslie, and Erika. I'm so honored to be in your company. And I'd like to give a special thanks to the AAPI community here in Southern California, upon whose giant shoulders I stand. I wouldn't be here without you. Huge thanks to all the presenters and viewers for creating community this evening. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the theater very soon.
Good evening. I'm delighted to introduce Zelda Fichandler finalist Leslie Ishii. Leslie is the artistic director of Perseverance Theater in Alaska and a self-described Yunsei, 4th generation Japanese American. Propelled by her involvement in an early production of Northwest Asian American theater's Breaking the Silence, the first play to publicly share the history and stories of Japanese American World War II concentration camp survivors, Leslie has felt called to support the truth and healing power of the storytelling of Black, Indigenous, people of color artists and communities. Her work with legacy BIPOC theaters, El Teatro Campesino, East West Players, and Asian American Theater Company, to name a few, embody her commitment to deepen relationships within communities, to decolonize and re-indigenize spaces, to implement racial equality and justice, to liberate and celebrate artists and their storytelling. Describes herself as a theater maker brought up by the West Coast, whether it's championing the National New Play Network revitalization of the West Coast corridor, to CADA Confest, to pilgrimages to World War II concentration campsites for community healing, to enjoying the brilliant work of theater makers of the Western region. Leslie and her work is undeniably committed to her community. She is the current board president of the Consortium of Asian American Theater as an artist, has won multiple awards such as Teachers Making a Difference, Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival Integrity Award, and won national standout recognition for championing equity, inclusion from our SDC union in both 2016 and 2017, amongst a multitude of additional accolades. She co-facilitated the launch of Theater Communications Group Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Institute, and is a current member of TCG's BIPOC Advisory Circle, all the while finding time to lead extraordinary and astute productions at Perseverance Theater. Leslie, your commitment to your craft, your community, and the storytelling of BIPOC artists and communities is both inspired and inspiring. You are a true artist collaborator, an educator, activist, and community builder, and we are honored to celebrate you as a 2021 Zelda Fichandler finalist.
Greetings from the sacred homelands of the Occoquan peoples here on Tlingit Ani, For myself and the Perseverance Theater staff and company are grateful to the Occoquan peoples for their stewardship since time immemorial. And we are grateful to the Dena'ina peoples, where we also conduct our work in what is colonially known as Anchorage, Alaska. I also want to offer huge congratulations to dear friend and colleague Mark Valdez and my fellow finalists who are also dear to my heart. My deepest gratitude to SDCF for this recognition with these esteemed colleagues. It is not lost on me that this national visibility is working against the patterns of erasure that so many BIPOC directors and choreographers and theater artists struggle under. And whether being of service with my brilliant colleagues at Perseverance Theater, the Consortium of Asian American Theaters and Artists, the National BIPOC BITOC Coalition Commons, National New Play Network, or the Professional Nonprofit Theater Coalition, it is so important to note this celebration affirms that SDCF supports the use of our agency, privilege, and positional power as directors and choreographers to end systemic racism and oppression, to create and sustain change. And of course, this recognition honors my ancestors and mentors that charged me with being on the cutting edge of transformational and restorative justice. So my deepest gratitude and Japanese bow to you all for this honor. Domo arigatou gozaimasu.
I'm honored to introduce Zelda Fichandler finalist Erika, Chong, Shuch. Erika is a formidable choreographer, director, and performance maker based in Berkeley, California, whose work moves between theater, experimental performance, and social practice, investigating how each field supports the growth of the other. In Erika's own words, and I quote, "I formulate creative avenues towards measurable social change," end quote. Her work is deeply rooted in these inquiries. What is it that theater is for? Who are we making it for? And how can we be unburdened by the need to change and enlivened by the creative possibilities that change ignites? Some of what makes Erika's work so impressive is her ability to bring together new communities in the spirit of expanding ideas around how performance is created and shared. Her focus on relationship building and collaboration is pervasive throughout her work. To name a few examples, Love Everywhere, a faux wedding featuring 8 dancers, 40 community performers, a classical orchestra, and 1,000+ audience celebrating and elevating same-sex marriage. Chorus of Stones, a piece created in response to a series of interviews Erika conducted with North Korean defectors living in Seoul. Artists and Elders, a series of projects that connect artists and elders for creative exchange and amplifying elders' voices, in particular, Asian American and Pacific Islander elders. For You Performance Collective, whose performances break convention, elevating non-traditional theater spaces such as diners, church basements, and homes as performance sites, bringing strangers together for intimate exchanges. As a choreographer, Erika's movement-driven experiences within text-based works have been heralded across our country, from the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, Pittsburgh Public Portland Center Stage, Baltimore Center Stage, Kansas City Rep, Kennedy Center, American Conservatory Theater, and many more. Erika's work is an invitation that says, "Come join us." Erika, we salute you and your talent and creativity and cannot wait to enjoy all your inspiring work that is to come.
Hello from Berkeley, California. Mark, Leslie, and Jennifer, it's a real honor to be recognized here today alongside you and your beautiful, generous, human-centered work. I want to send my love out to the artists and galvanizers that are gathered here today in this weird virtual space in what continues to be a trying and complicated and wackadoo kind of time. I hope that you're all finding inspiration, and I hope that you're finding ways to take care of your bodies and your hearts and your imaginations. This recognition means so much to me. Thank you for this, SDC, and thank you for all of your continued care. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Superlatives usually refer to a lone soul who is best, but I am one of many people who consider Mark Valdez to be their best friend. Mark is a gifted director, to be sure, but it is his kindness, generosity, respect, and active listening that distinguish him as a stellar human being with a welcoming, inviting, affirming soul. For Mark, compassion is a verb, and his vocabulary doesn't include mediocrity, good enough, or elitism. Mark has directed a dozen productions at Mixed Blood. He's an artist with great craft, keen leadership, great collaborative acumen, and lovable collegiality. Mark's first show at Mixed Blood had him rehearse 2 casts, one in English and one in Spanish, that performed 13 shows per week. His tireless work ethic shone through. In our flexible black box space, Mark has directed in 5 different configurations, as well as in 2 offsite venues: satires, musicals, comedies, dramas, play within a dance party, site-specific work, virtual productions, world premieres, and American premieres. Mark's versatility is magnified by his activist soul. Whoever is disregarded and marginalized by the American theater defines the body of people for whom Mark wants to write, produce, and direct. He embraces equity and eschews all isms. Mark Valdez's belief in the power of art and theater to influence changes of attitude, behavior, and policy is unparalleled. From the largest Lord theaters to junior colleges to conservatories to theaters for young audiences to Cornerstone's non-venue venues to numerous online platforms to VR and AR, Mark Valdez walks comfortably, brings the highest professional standards, and makes everyone feel at home. Guided by his moral compass and led by his sophisticated sense of identity politics, Mark Valdez is an asset to any room in which he enters. Mark will be the first to admit that he's never met a soapbox he didn't want to stand on and overuse. But listen carefully and you'll be a wiser soul. It was an honor to nominate Mark Valdez to be this year's Zelda Fichandler Award winner, and it's an honor to introduce this gifted, loquacious activist artist who makes theaters, SDC, and the regional theater movement better year after year.
Thank you, SDCF, for this recognition. It is an honor to receive the award and an especially deep honor to be regarded alongside my friend Leslie Ishii and 2 artists whose work I deeply admire, Jennifer Chang and Erika Chong Shuch. So, I never actually met Zelda, but I did have a memorable phone call with her. I had just been hired as the executive director for the network of ensemble theaters, and Lindy Zesch from TCG introduced us and suggested that we talk, recognizing the parallels between ensemble theaters and the founding of the regional theater movement. Zelda was in the process of moving, and at one point in the conversation, she stopped and said something like, "I'm standing in my apartment, surrounded by boxes filled with the artifacts of my work, my theater, and the field." At the time, she was encouraging me to keep a record of what we were doing at NET because someday, she said, people are going to want to know that story. And now, all these years later, I'm thinking about that call, hoping that someday I too might be fortunate enough to be standing in a room surrounded by the artifacts of a long and meaningful career. But more, I think about the insights she shared. Someday, people are going to want to know that story. And I think she was right. The stories of our work, of our movements, of our field, we want to know where we came from. We want to know how things got done. It's one of the ways that we learn our craft, by seeing what others did. And then that's certainly true for me. But when I get stuck, it's that too often these stories are incomplete. For instance, in my education, I learned about Duke, Sex, Meiningen, and Samslosky, and Brecht, Brooke, Jones, Vance, and Fichandler. Missing, though, were the works and contributions of Luis Valdez, Miriam Colon, Max Ferra, Rene Bush, Cora Cordona, Jose Luis Valenzuela, and many, many others. And so I spent much of my career wondering if there was even a place for me here. These role models existed, but they weren't visible. So the story of what we call American theater and the idea of who could be a director was incomplete. And so in many ways, I think my work and career has been about filling in those gaps, working in and with communities to insert their stories into our theatrical canon, telling the epic tales of immigrants living along Atlanta's Buford Highway, or reflecting the joy of family and faith found in LA's Muslim community. And when I enter these underrepresented communities, I make myself an example, proof that you can have a career in theater, that a brown queer boy living in rural Texas can become a director. Hell, he could even win the Zelda Fichandler Award. One reason I was drawn to directing is that I recognize that directors have a big say in what stories get told and who gets to tell them. We are each of us human, often overwhelmed by the demands of our lives. So we have to decide, we have to choose to look beyond what and who is in front of us, to see the people who are not in our immediate periphery. In fact, if we really want to see them, we're probably going to have to move from where we currently stand so that we can get a different view altogether. You are directors. You have a say in the stories that get told and the people who get to tell them. Do me a favor. Look around at the artifacts of your career, of your theaters, of your field. What's missing? Someday, today even, someone out there is needing to know these stories. Let's tell them. Thank you.
Before we move on to our final award of the evening, we wanted to take a moment to highlight two extraordinary artists who are currently part of the inaugural year of the Lloyd Richards New Futures residency. These artists are Shá Cage and Elizabeth Carter. The Lloyd Richards New Futures residency is a year-long residency for mid-career BIPOC directors and choreographers interested in artistic leadership. Named for a legendary leader of the American theater, the goal is to forge new alliances between artists pursuing institutional leadership and forward-thinking artistic directors. Shá is currently in residence with Cornerstone Theater Company, being mentored and working with artistic director Michael John Garces. And Elizabeth is at Oregon Shakespeare Festival with mentor and colleague, artistic director Nataki Garrett. They're about, like halfway through their residency. So let's welcome them to share their experiences they've had so far.
Hello. The SDCF Lloyd Richards New Futures Residency Program has given me access to the change makers as they are creating new systems in real time. Watching Nataki Garrett has been like watching the future of the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and American theater as a whole. She has expanded the medium through her forward-thinking investment in and passion for XR with creating Innovation and Strategy Department at OSF, alongside Associate Artistic Director Scarlett Kim. They have widened the field and opened the door for everyone to experience the power of theater. This burgeoning art form really is a thrilling expansion into multi-pronged hybridity and artistic exploration while creating access. It is inspiring to work in Nataki's new leadership model, in the most diverse artistic leadership team I have experienced, and to see artist-centered work really at the center of all conversations. Through this program, I've been able to have a seat at the table with a dynamic group of visionary leaders as I vision for myself what my path in my artistry and leadership will take me. We all know how difficult a place it has been in the theater these last 2 years. What a gift it is to have the opportunity to be in a space where we can imagine the world of theater and who it can serve and what it can be in its biggest and boldest expression. Thank you.
So in the past 5 months, as the 2021 inaugural Lloyd Richards Fellow with Cornerstone Theater, I have just been so blessed to experience what it feels like to be accepted and appreciated and held up, not only as an artist, as a director, as a creative, but also as a peer. And not only through observation, but actual hands-on experience, the kind that says, I trust what you bring to the table. I trust your experiences. A moment that really sticks out for me, I think, in assisting Michael John Garces in Pittsburgh this summer on the project The Rivers Don't Know, I guess just the level of trust and respect that he showed me and leaving the project in my care demonstrated right away a great deal about not only his character, but also about how much my position was really valued. So yeah, what a great privilege it is to walk in the footsteps of the late, great Lloyd Richards, whose legacy and dedication to this field and those of us that are climbing up behind him opened so many doors in ways that I am literally benefiting from. I've been reminded that as an emerging director, Black director and theater professional, that I am valuable, that I am talented, that I am fierce and mighty, and all of the things that I need to be reminded in this critical time in all of our history. My deepest gratitude to the foundation, to Cornerstone, and of course to Mr. Richards. May I make you proud. Shá Cage.
Thanks so much, Shá and Elizabeth. Thank you both for sharing your experiences, and we look forward to hearing more as you continue this journey with these extraordinary artistic directors. Now I'll turn it over to my good friend, Neel Keller, who will be presenting our last award of the evening, the Gordon Davidson Award.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today representing the Gordon Davidson Award Committee. This award is given annually to honor Gordon's remarkable legacy and to celebrate a director or choreographer for their lifetime achievement and distinguished service to the American Regional Theater. I was joined on this year's selection committee by a wonderful group of people, including Sheldon Epps, Lisa Peterson, Warner Shook, Laura Penn, and Tom Moore. We also received important support and assistance from Danielle Barlow at the Foundation. I'd like to thank all of them for the time, thought, and care they so generously gave to this year's process. At this point, I'm supposed to turn things over to Oskar Eustis, but I hope you'll bear with me just for a second as I offer a few brief words of context. Oskar, as we all know, has been the artistic director of the Public Theater since 2005. Before that, he was the artistic director at Trinity Rep for a decade. And before that, he worked very closely with Gordon Davidson at Center Theater Group in Los Angeles. Through all these decades, Oskar has dedicated himself and those institutions to championing new work that speaks to important issues of the day. While those interests and beliefs are certainly integral to who he has always been, they were sharpened by Gordon Davidson's passion and purpose. Like so many of us, Oskar was inspired by Gordon and carries his legacy forward every day. In recognition of his personal and artistic commitments and leadership, Oskar was named the inaugural recipient of the Gordon Davidson Award in 2018. Now it's a real pleasure to turn everything over to my friend and dear colleague, Oskar Eustis.
Gordon Davidson was my friend, my colleague, my boss. It's the only man I ever called boss. For 5 years, he was a mentor to me of extraordinary power and generosity. And what Gordon stood for was that art and social justice belong together. It wasn't art and social justice. It was art is social justice for Gordon. He ran a theater committed to the development of new work, committed to the inclusion of those who've been disenfranchised by our society, and that powerful example is what makes this award so special. It's also why Emily Mann is the perfect recipient for this year's Gordon Davidson Award. Emily has had a career that has made an unerasable mark on the American theater. As a director, her career is extraordinary, stretching from her early days as a director when she directed a brilliant production of Glass Menagerie at the Guthrie, to the production of Doll's House that I spent a week with her in Portland watching her craft this gorgeous production, to a Weekend Near Madison, which she moved from Actors Theater of Louisville to off-Broadway, to the magnificent Chekhov productions that she directed while she was artistic director of the McCarter, to the Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway. The list goes on and on. Emily's passionate, fierce, direct, powerful directing has made a huge mark on the American theater. But I'd also point out the directing of her own work, because Emily, as a playwright, has also made a mark that will never be erased. From Still Life, that beautiful Obie-winning story of a Vietnam vet and the two women in his life, to Execution of Justice, which I had the honor of working with her on, about the murder of George Moscone and Dan White, to the extraordinary production of Having Our Say, which she both wrote and directed, and was gorgeous and heartwarming in a way that was unexpected and yet perfect from Emily. Her direction of her own work and those plays themselves have become staples of the American theater and are examples of exactly what Gordon stood for: art as social justice. She's a warrior, she's an advocate, and she's an institutional leader, because for over 30 years, she ran the McCarter Theater in New Jersey and took it to an extraordinary level of distinction. Employed, mentored, trained artists, producers, directors, dramaturgs, actors, made a community theater for Princeton, New Jersey, which rose to the intellectual level of Princeton, New Jersey. She is a beautiful and inspiring example of an artist who encompasses the life of the mind and the body politic. She believes in changing the world, and she believes in understanding the world. And she's set that example for the entirety of her career. I myself was lucky enough to call Emily my mentor when I first started. She was the first playwright I ever worked with closely. And the development of Execution of Justice obviously set a career track for me that I've never wavered from. But that career track isn't as important to me as the example Emily set. So somehow she's my mentor, even though I'm obviously older than she is. But she was an example for me of the engaged artist, of an artist who could be passionate about the world and passionate about the theater in the same breath, who believed that the theater was a medium not only of understanding, but of changing the world. And it's for this sterling career as director, as playwright, as artistic director, that I am honored to give Emily Mann the Gordon Davidson Award. Thank you.
Oh, Oskar. First of all, you are not older than I am. And second of all, and most important, thank you for those beautiful words. To receive this award from you in Gordon's name means the world to me. I have to say, I'm overwhelmed by receiving this award. I'm humbled. I am so grateful. And I'm newly inspired, Oskar, by those beautiful words. My thanks go out to the Society of Directors and Choreographers Foundation, the committee, Neel Keller. Neel, when you called me, I couldn't stop crying and I had to get off so fast. So you will forgive me. Laura Penn, Lisa Peterson, Sheldon Epps, Tom Moore, and Warner Shuch. You know, there is no greater honor than to be honored by one's peers. Perhaps I'm so moved because only other directors and artistic directors really know what we do. You're the only ones who really know what it takes to do what we do. Whether you're leading a theater, leading a rehearsal room, a group of artists, and supporters, community and staff to create a theater that has impact, that is also solvent, to create works of theater that truly matter. So few know what a director does. Thank you to my peers and the Davidson family for appreciating my efforts over a lifetime of work. But greatest thanks to Gordon. Like Oskar, Gordon was to me a North Star, and he was a North Star for so many of us who lead theaters. He was the gold standard for those of us dedicated to creating theater in conversation with its community, with our nation, and the world we inhabit in the present moment. As Oskar said, to Gordon, as for me, and as for Oskar, social justice and theater came together. We saw how theater could affect change and could bring real national discourse to our communities and our nation in terms of social justice and equal rights. When I think of Gordon's legacy from Children of a Lesser God to Zoot Suit and Angels in America, he gave voice to those who hadn't yet been heard from, whether it was the deaf community, the Chicano workers, the gay men dying of AIDS, and so many more people. The body of work he commissioned, produced, directed, and championed had depth, significance, and made theater essential to the public discourse. And he did it with such flair. I will never forget the giant leap Gordon would make onto the stage every night in previews and opening. His white hair flying as if he were still 25 years old. He'd land on the stage as if this was the first time he'd ever known such excitement. And it was real. He was a showman, but his excitement was real. His audience knew it. The artists he worked with knew it. His support of writers and artists was complete. Once you were his, he'd fight tooth and nail for you. And those notes were rigorous and thorough. He also trusted the artists he worked with. I heard him say often, at least to me, when things got heated in a note session, "Emily, no one knows your play better than you do." In other words, he listened to the writer. I took that page out of Gordon's book. It was my mantra, it still is. On a personal level, his warmth, his humor, that unique twinkle in his eye, those bare eyes. All of us who knew him remember the delight he took in communing with his colleagues. It was often over drinks after a rehearsal or a performance. And it was often while talking about the theater he most believed in that you went to the core of the man. All of us here tonight are the beneficiaries of Gordon's extraordinary energy, passion, and commitment. But what I most learned from him was that he shaped the American theater as an artistic director by staying true to his own vision. When so many others bowed to the pressures of commercial needs, of the budget, of the audience or his board, Gordon was like a tuning fork. And he made everyone hear that tone, support it, and follow it. I have used him as a model through my 30 years at McCarter. Our national theater is the not-for-profit theaters around our country and in New York. It's there where the true risks are taken. It's there where artistic leaders with singular visions, like Gordon, bring onto their stages the stories needing to be told to their communities. And in so doing, the national repertoire expands, the commercial sector is fed, and the international repertoire grows. Like Gordon, I led McCarter for 30 years with a vision that never actually changed, only, I hope, deepened over my 30 years. Our mission always was to give voice to the voiceless, and that meant to me giving voice to stories by and about women and people of color in particular. And because, unlike Gordon, I was also a great lover of the classic repertoire and was classically trained from my apprenticeship at the Guthrie, I wanted to bring the great plays of the classic repertoire on stage, reimagined, in conversation with the new plays. Always, though, in response to the questions, why this play and why now? Perhaps because I was both a freelance writer and a director before I was an artistic director. I wanted to make McCarter the theater where artists could come to do their best work, where they wanted to come, where I would want to come if I were still freelancing, a place where I would be heard as an artist. And as an artist who was also a woman and in my early years, a single mother. To that end at McCarter, we listened to the writer and director about what each of them needed to do their best work and get their plays on, but also what they needed personally so that they could use their full capacities to do the work. We tailored each developmental process to the initiating artist, whether it was the playwright or the director. Some people, like Athol Fugard, didn't want a workshop or a reading. He just wanted to get into the rehearsal room, and we did that for him. And we put him up in a wonderful place that was right over the neighborhood shrink, which he said helped him feel very well cared for. We also, if needed, like with Danai Gurira or Nilo Cruz, if they needed to hear a reading, they just finished a new chunk of the play and they needed to hear it read, we would do that for them. And we would give them the developmental workshop they needed for their work. Whatever the artist needed, we were responsive to. And it is in that way that we became a powerhouse for new work and for the reimagined classics. But always, you know, as the decades went on, it was artistic directors, particularly like Gordon, who showed me the way. Seeing Gordon and Zelda and Lloyd Richards too, but Gordon in particular, hold true to his vision over all those decades, gave me the courage as a playwright, director, and artistic director to do the same. In closing, I just wanted to say that during these very dark times, when a new surge in the pandemic is closing us down yet again, it's important to remember the theater has gone through plagues before, closed and reopened, always reopened. I do believe that the theater is more important now than ever to our communities, our society, and perhaps most important, to our democracy. After this bleak isolation, we as a people need the communion we can find only in the theater. And we need the theater community to come back from this newest plague, newly energized by our self-reckoning as a profession and a country. The theater needs to take its rightful place again in the national conversation, combating a rising autocracy and a white supremacist movement. Two scourges that always walk hand in hand with misogyny. We in the theater community can encourage the conversation to save our planet, and we can tell all these stories with joy and energy, artistry, and humanity. I know we can do it. We need to keep the faith and put one foot in front of the other, staying true to what we know our personal vision is. I'm greatly honored to join company with my esteemed colleagues who came before me in receiving this award. My dear Oskar, Lisa Peterson, and the wonderful Surette Scott. And I'm so excited for what I know my fellow awardees here tonight will continue to contribute to the American theater. Mark Valdez in the Zelda Fichandler Award, and finalists for Zelda's award, Jennifer Chang, Leslie Ishii, and Erika Chong Shuch. I'm so honored to share this evening with you, and I know Zelda would be very proud of you. Thank you, Gordon, for all you gave to the American theater, for all you gave to me personally. Thank you, SDCF and the Davidson family for creating this award. At a time when many in our theater world have given up on vision, this award, because it's in Gordon's name, celebrates it. To receive it is one of the greatest honors of my life. Thank you. I'll treasure it always.
Congratulations, Emily, from Lynn Myers in Cincinnati. Been a long time since your production of Ashes at the Playhouse, but you have inspired me every single day since. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Emily, on your Gordon Davidson Award. You have been a trailblazer and an inspiration to so many. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Congratulations, Emily Mann.
Emily, it's Warner Shuch, and I wanted to congratulate you on getting this year's Davidson Award. I know Gordon would be over the moon that you have gotten this year, and no one deserves it more because you are one of the pillars of the regional theater movement. Congratulations, Emily. Much love.
Congratulations, Emily, on this really lovely honor. You've been a source of inspiration and support for many women, including myself, and I feel privileged to have had the opportunity to work in your theater and bask in your glow.
Emily, it's Andrew Lippa, and I just want to say congratulations on being the recipient of this year's Gordon Davidson Lifetime Achievement Award. What a lifetime of achievement you have created. Thank you so much for your incredible work through all these years and for supporting everyone who works with you and works in the American theater.
There is a good woman named Mann, of whom I'm a very big fan. She deserves this award and every other reward for helping us to believe that we can. Congratulations, Emily.
Hello, Emily. Huge congratulations on the Gordon Davidson Award. So well deserved. I hope that the conversation we had for the foundation not too long ago is the first of many conversations. And you are a truly inspiring mentor. Huge congrats again.
I know a lot of the comments about Emily are going to be about how she's, a fierce, uncompromising pioneer, putting important political and social issues on stage, and that is absolutely true. But I want to speak up for the fact that she is funny. When you're with her, she's half her comments begin with a laugh. She has this delightful, ironic sense of humor, and getting together with her is always a joy. And so I look forward to years more of not only great work, but some great laughs over coffee.
Hello, Emily. Susan Stroman here. Congratulations on the Gordon Davidson Award. It is so well deserved. As a matter of fact, congratulations on all your accomplishments. I've long admired your contributions to the theater. Be well. I'm sending you love. Bye.
Emily Mann, I love you. Congratulations on this incredible award. Ollie and I would like to say you're amazing. thank you for everything you've given me as a teacher, friend, mentor, collaborator, artist, soulmate. The only thing is, how can this be a Lifetime Achievement Award? You're just getting started. All right, love you. Congrats.
Emily, I am so happy that you are the recipient of the Davidson Award. I know Gordon would have been thrilled. He so admired and cared for you. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of you mind-blowing artists for your perseverance and your ability to innovate in the face of the unknown. And thank you all for turning on your computers for yet another Zoom gathering and for showing your support for these extraordinary human beings. Stay safe and good night. SDC Foundation signing off. Take 2 million.
Ooh, wait.
All right, Zoom, now, boom.
Okay, first part of the speech again. Take whatever, maybe 4 or 5, 6, whatever. Okay, here we go.
No virus can stop us from collectively lifting. I'm going to start from the very top again so that
New York Eve, New Year's Eve. Duh, let me do that again.
Test.
our ability to pivot and shift under such profoundly challenging circumstances. Okay.
Which runs through predominantly. Jen writes, I'm sorry, I have to stop because I think somebody walked across the camera.
In new structures. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Okay, take 3 million.
I got it. I finally got it. You can laugh. I don't care. Now to our winner.
Oh, I have to stop here. Ellie,